One of them is a super easy game, and again, it's one that we maybe not play with puppies, but oftentimes I bet you've played this with a baby before, maybe not your own, but maybe a family member, and that is airplane treats. It's the simple game of having the dog focus on a treat as it slowly moves to their mouth. Here is Fee. I start relatively quickly so that she knows it is coming and that she doesn't have a need or desire to jump up to get that treat. If it helps your dog, you can go ahead and cue the sit, but oftentimes when treats are overhead, they're going to offer that sit anyway. And it's just a silly little game. It just allows them to practice staying focused on a singular task. This second game, I love this game. I think it's really fun. I think my dog enjoys it. It's called One for Me, One for You. And again, it's both a bit of an impulse control game and a focus game.
One for you. One for me. One for you.
So I'm just giving her a treat, telling one for you. She can have it if it's right in front of her. And then I'm putting the one for me in a pile in front of her that she's not allowed to get, but that she can remain focused on.
One for me. One for you. 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 One for you. Yay, okay. Good girl.
Kind of a fun little game. This next game actually is where I start to build a little bit more duration in that focus, a little more intensity in that focus. When my dogs are focused, I want there to be a certain amount of intensity in that emotion, in that state of mind. And you can see there's a treat there, and I'm just keeping her attention on it. When I flick it, she gets to go get it. And you can see how intently she's focused on that treat and focused on whether or not my finger is going to be the cue to go ahead and get the treat. I think this is probably one of her favorites. And you can build duration in this. And it doesn't even, for her, it doesn't even have to be anything high value. She will do this with kibble. She will do this with very low value treats. I like the next one. It can be used quite easily as reinforcement for behavior. Matter of fact, in this video, I think you'll see Fee offer behavior that we had been working on. And it ties into your dog's prey drive, often which brings about focus in the animal. So this is just a little rabbit toy, and I'm treating it like it's a rabbit. It hides, it moves quickly. You can see that she's focused. She's trying to get it to move and trying to capture it, to catch it. And that's just a fun game. You can do it with food as well. You don't need to do it with toy. If your dog is not that food motivated, you can have a piece of food in your hand and move it quickly along the floor and hide it and allow your dog to get it. Sometimes maybe flick it for them to chase. This one, not all dogs know how to catch. I had to actually teach Fee how to catch. She's now a catching fool. But when I first taught this, she really did have to learn this as a skill. It would hit her in the head, it would fall on the ground. There are a lot of things that would happen here. I'm not cueing her to drop it. She's dropping it because she wants me to go ahead and toss it again. She can stay focused on the task of catching. I can add challenge to it a little bit. I can change the height. I can change the arc. I can change the object. So each of these games are just fun ways to help your dog practice focus in a way that includes you, that you are the one creating that task, that sense of accomplishment for them. Okay, so attention is a behavior that should be trained. Eye contact is the criterion. And focus is a skill that should be practiced in a way that always includes you. Engagement is a result of enjoyable and collaborative interaction. So let's talk about ways that we can help our dogs choose to engage with us over any difficulties that might be in the environment. There are a few what I call construct games that I teach my dogs very early on to help them learn to enjoy a collaborative interaction between us. There are hand touch games, food games, toy games, and personal play types of games. I think it's important that if we want our dogs to engage with us, that we learn to engage with them in a way that they enjoy, that doesn't always include something tangible like toys or food. When we compete, we are going to be counting on that history of enjoyable interaction and engagement to help the dog carry both of us through a competition environment or being in the ring. So these are just games that I like to use and build off of to create other games, hence the name construct games. I construct other games from these very basic games. The first one is a hand touch. I'm sure you guys have all taught your dogs how to touch your hand. However, I think we don't, again, like Doggy Zen, we don't take full advantage of that game. And so I would implore you to explore that game a little further than you maybe have. It has so many benefits and value, so much value that it's such an integral part of my training program. But here are the mechanics of the hand touch, and I think the mechanics are super important. Here is Sharon making it a release game out of a crate and giving the dog a reason to engage with her right away and not become distracted by the environment.
Boy, Angie, you are superstar. Look at it. Oh, look at that.
And because there's a strong history of reward already, again, this is something the dog chooses to engage in. Food games, again, you've probably done some food tosses, reset tosses, or sometimes referred to as food bowling. Again, a super useful game for so many reasons, but it also creates strong engagement. When we're food bowling, we're bowling away from the handler and then turning, and the dog is moving back to the handler again. It's also a fun way to start to introduce distractions with what I call a gutter ball game. Let's take a look at the food bowling first. So in the food bowling, again, I think mechanics are important as they're part of our communication to the dog. We want the dog to go past us, chase the food. Notice how the bowling here is like bowling. It's as if the food is a bowling ball. You want to bowl as if there is weight to it, that if you were to lob the ball or if you were to backhand the ball, that you would not have the same effect in terms of trajectory of where the ball or treat, in this case, is going. Also, the way that you extend your arm after the toss gives the dog a better idea of where the treat is going and a better chance of it not getting lost, the treat not getting lost. So Peggy has really nice form here in helping Susie get that treat. This is gutter balls, though. You can actually use that food bowling game to introduce some distractions into your training. Once the dog understands the food bowling game and wants to engage in it, they will learn to ignore distractions when you are playing the, oops, let's go back here, when you are playing the food bowling game. Ready? So here I'm setting the treats on a chair to start. It's a little bit easier when they're off the ground. I'm providing some hand touches to show her what's going to earn reward. And I'm just going to start food bowling past the distraction. I want her to engage with me and just ignore the treats on the seat. And then I can add a hand touch, and I can start to add a little bit of work to this as well. I think I take a few steps of healing. And she can learn to start to heal past the distraction on the floor. Excuse the comment there. This is part of my joy healing class, and so we're watching for some animation. But really what I wanted to show here was how she can ignore the food on the floor in favor of playing the food bowling game with me. We can add other distractions. We can add people to the game. The dog continues to play the game even though there's another person milling around. Okay. And they choose to engage in the game with the handler rather than engage
watch your backhanding.
With the distraction.
Back and forth, Peggy, back and forth.
And then back the other way?
He's very people-oriented. He will choose people usually over anything, but because of the reward history here with the food
add a little
bowling,
healing. Have him come up into heal and go.
We can go ahead and use that as a means to keep him engaged.
Reward, nice.
Two toy game. I think you guys are familiar with the two toy game. Basically, the dog is bringing the toy back in order for you to toss the toy again. This is the first time the dog had played the game. The dog was a little reluctant to bring the toy back and actually engage with the handler, but preferred to take the toy off on his own, which also can be really good information. But in this case, we were using the two toy game to help the dog choose to engage with the handler as well as enjoy the game. And we start small. If the dog will bring it back at all and drop it, we'll throw the other game. You can build up to actually having the dog bring the toy all the way back, but that's not really the primary goal here. The goal isn't to teach a dog to retrieve or to bring the toy back and put it in hand. The goal here is to teach the dog to engage with you in this kind of game. And it's simply tossing the ball. When the dog brings it back and drops it, you toss the other one. Personal play, I think that personal play is an incredibly important skill for both dog and handler. A lot of dogs really don't want to engage in personal play hands-on during training. I've had many dogs like that. My goal at this point with new dogs is start early and often and ongoing with personal play, playing with your dog without the aid of food or toys. And it's not always easy, but when you get to that point where you are both truly enjoying that type of interaction, that can really benefit your competition training, your ability to work in difficult settings, difficult environments, or with distractions. This is just a session of Bea and I just playing. I like doing this on the floor, obviously because my dog is on the floor. I can do it on a couch or a sofa though, but I think it just gives me a little more latitude if I'm on the floor with my dog. I don't mind the growling. I don't mind the barking. This is part of how dogs play. Certainly if this were doing damage to me or hurt, then we would address that. But, you know, she's using her mouth in play, which is normal for dogs. And I want you to note how long she's willing to stay engaged here. I mean, this is almost 2 minutes of just play with no food, no toys, something that she enjoys. She's not leaving to go do something else on her own. And I just think this is a really important part of dog learning and choosing to engage with the handler. It's important that you figure out what your dog enjoys, what your dog likes. Every dog is different. Not all dogs are going to want to play the way I play with Bea. Not all dogs are going to like this specific interaction or types of petting. That's something for you and your dog to figure out together. We always want our dogs choosing to engage with us to be just that, a choice. And we want them to choose that in the presence of other things that they may want to choose to engage with as well. We want us to be the best choice. So these are some games that help a dog make those right choices. This first one is just a very simple, again, it's a puppy game. It's one that you can start very early on. You can combine it with a name game, but basically you're using a few small distractions, food or toys. The dog is on leash and you're reinforcing the correct choice and you're making that correct choice much easier for them through your body language, your, again, use of their name. But the main thing is you want to reinforce really generously for making that right choice. So this is called Choose Me.
Okay.
And this actually was in one of her early puppy classes. And we're just giving her the option of coming back to me or choosing the toy or the food that's in the dish. Apologies for the blurriness here. It'll clear up in just a second. Get it. You notice she takes a look. I provide her name and continue to move backwards, which draws her closer into me. And then she's reinforced for choosing me. Good girl. Get it. She's on leash so that I can prevent her from making the wrong choice. It wouldn't include any corrections. It would just include her being unable to get to those things.
That was so good.
And again, a lot of reinforcement for making the right choice.
Yes, good girl.
How do you start this? You might not start this quite so close. You might have to be at quite a bit of a distance when you first start this and gradually decrease that distance. She had started at a little bit farther distance than this, and she had a lot of the other engagement games under her belt already, the fun things. So she was already finding value in me. Musical toys. This is a fun game. This I actually learned from Julie Daniels. This is actually a video submission that I used for Julie Daniels' online workshop on engagement. So in this game, there's several toys out in a triangle, and you're playing with one toy and engaging your dog, letting them engage with you, and then you drop the toy and run to the next toy. The goal is that the dog drop the toy and choose you. She's just learning here, so sometimes she keeps the toy and she's like, what? But little by little, she starts to choose to engage with me instead of engaging by herself with one of the other toys. This is a great game to check the value of your hand touch. I love to use toys as reinforcement. I like using, my dogs enjoy tug, so I do use tug, but I also want them to choose that hand touch over the tug. The reason is that my hand touch is so much more useful and valuable, useful in so many other ways than just my dog's ability to touch. So I want to make sure that there's a lot of value in that hand touch. So basically here, the reward for choosing my hand is getting to tug again. And this is one of these earlier sessions, I think. I'm just tugging, and then I present my hand. Remember, the cue to touch is the presentation of the hand. She leaves the tug, touches, and then she gets to go back and tug some more.
Good girl.
And you can do this with food as well. You would simply have food out in one hand. Here there's food in one hand in a fist. She can't get to it. And when she stops mugging the hand and goes to touch the other hand, then she's allowed to eat the food in the far hand. Again, this is all about putting value in these little silly engagement games with me. This is Treasure Hunt. This is a fun game. This starts with placing several treats in a pile on the floor and allowing your dog to eat them, and then running away to another corner of a triangle and placing several treats on the floor and then running away. And what you'll find that happens is the dog will actually leave the pile of treats in favor of chasing you to where the next pile of treats are going to be. They may eat one or two, but as you start moving away, the dog will start to leave the treats in favor of engaging and chasing you. For the pile of treats, I run away. 2 or 3. I'm not sure she does it in this session, but you'll see where she starts to leave treats. So that's kind of a fun game. You can combine any of these games. You can make up your own games. I think this, a little bit of choose me, tug to touch, a little bit of chase games. She has the option of getting any of those toys at any time. I just want her to learn that I'm the best option. I'm the most fun option. I'm the one that has the most to offer her. And so we play these games a lot, and we integrate these games into our training. We can use these games as reinforcement for our training. And I think that's an area where we tend to fall down on. We tend to play, then work, then play at the end, that we separate them too much. And really what we want to do is integrate our work with our play so that our engagement games become part of our training session, an integral part of our training session, not just something to be done on breaks or afterwards. It's not a play break. It's not about working and then playing. It's about integrating our play into the work that we do, using these engagement games as part of our training. These are some ways that you can do that. Some video of what that actually looks like. This is Just Do It. Oh yeah, so this is a little bit of healing, some games, some tug, Rosalind, and I think this is Fletcher. And a game of tug, and then you'll see her just move into some heel work. And then back into tug again. Hand touch and tug. And so you can see it's fairly seamless. There's no stops and starts. Here's Lin Lin, and she's just doing a little bit of personal play interaction, and then she moves right into heel work. Again, the transition is very seamless. There's no stopping and starting. It just moves from one right into the other. Both the work and the play have been heavily reinforced, and the work has been reinforced with the play. And so it's all a very smooth transition from one to the other. And to me, I think this is one of the most enjoyable ways to work and train and play, where neither the dog or handler can tell the difference between one and the other. Certainly, we don't want the dog to be able to tell the difference between one and the other. This is, I was just cleaning up my training room. Both the dogs were out there. I was picking up the toys and decided to just go into a little bit of play. And as I was playing with Fee, I opted to move into some heel work. So again, the transitions are very organic. The difference between work and play is minimal, and it's not a big deal. It's not a big break. All of the focus and attention and engagement games that we played previously play into this type of scenario where the dog is not actually thinking, are we working or are we playing? Because it's all one and the same. Reward events, your construct games that we talked about earlier can be used as reward events. When I talk about reward events, I'm not referring to a cursory treat or 2 or 3 treats or even a jackpot, but something that includes a lot more variety, that includes a lot of these games, the engagement games, the construct games, and something that lasts at least as long as the work that you're asking the dog to do. I think this is a clip of Fee doing some heel work, and you'll see the type of reward events that I'm referring to.
Yes, good girl. That was it. What a good girl. What a good girl. So so good.
So I include jump to food because most dogs like jumping up. There's several treats. Some food bowling is added in here.
Where's their tools?
We're going to add in a little bit of tug. Lots of movement because my dogs enjoy movement. But I want you to notice too that not only is there a lot of variety here, but this reward event is lasting at least as long as the amount of time that she healed for me. And you do want your reward events, your rewards to last, to be commensurate with the amount of work, the difficulty of the work, and the duration of the work that we're asking the dog to do. And as I'm sure you've heard Shade Weitzel say, add the work to the play, not the play to the work. So your engagement games are an integral part of your reward events. And again, you want that transition to be as seamless as possible. It's not a stop, start, stop working, start, play, stop, play, start working. It should be a very smooth, easy transition. And in this way, if you incorporate the attention games, the eye contact games, the focus games, the engagement games into your normal everyday training, your dogs won't view training as work. They will view it as play. And if you remember that training life cycle slide that I showed you at the very beginning, where the first things we want our dogs to learn is reinforcement, focus and attention, and engagement and enjoyment. And then that can lead into your teaching skills, the acquisition, the building value, increasing criteria, generalization, and maintenance. And within that, we're going to include and continue to play our reinforcement games, our engagement games, our attention and focus games, so that when we do start to need those skills, need our real life skills or our competition skills, and we start to add those layers of difficulty, duration, distraction, distance, that pressure, the difficult situations, our dogs already have experience with that because we've already done that with all of our focus and attention games and our engagement games. That just as we need to add distractions and duration into our skills, our real life and competition skills, we've already done that as part of our focus and attention, so that the things we need the most aren't the things we train the least, because we are incorporating it into our everyday training. I hope you enjoyed this webinar. If you'd like to get in touch with me, there's my contact information there. You can contact me through Facebook, Creative Canine LLC. You can message me as well. And I think we'll go to questions now.